Jayson Tatum just dropped 4 words that could change everything. I haven't said I'm not playing. Most stars would be content to sit out an entire season after tearing their Achilles. Most organizations would write off the year completely, but Boston isn't most places, and Tatum isn't most players. What we're witnessing might be the most compelling comeback story in recent NBA memory, and it's happening in real time. Let's rewind to that devastating moment against the Knicks. Eastern Conference semifinals, everything on the line, and Tatum's season ends in an instant. The injury that every basketball player fears most, a torn Achilles tendon. The same injury that derailed careers, ended dynasties, and forced legends into early retirement. But here's where Tatum's story starts to separate itself from the typical narrative. While most players disappear into the shadows for months of rehab, Tatum made a choice that reveals everything about his mentality. He never left Boston, not once. Think about that for a second. A 27-year-old millionaire athlete facing the longest recovery of his career, and he stays put in the city where it all went wrong. That decision alone tells you this isn't your ordinary injury comeback. This is personal. This is a statement about what wearing Celtic green means to him. While other superstars might retreat to Miami beaches or Los Angeles mansions, Tatum planted himself in Boston and got to work. 6 days a week, every single week. No breaks, no vacations, no excuses. Now here's where the story gets really interesting. The Celtics front office reaction. Instead of waiting around hoping for a miracle, they made some of the most ruthless moves we've seen in years. Kristaps Porzingis, gone. Drew Holiday, shipped out. Al Horford, not re-signed. These weren't panic moves. These were calculated decisions from an organization that's been burned by injury recoveries before. The message was clear. We're not gambling our future on a maybe. We're not going to sit in salary cap hell waiting for someone who might never be the same player again. It's cold, it's business, but it's also smart. The Celtics learned from watching other teams mortgage their futures on injured superstars who never fully bounce back. But there's something beautiful about the contrast here. While the front office was making ice-cold business decisions, Tatum was in the gym every single day, refusing to accept that his season was over. 2 completely different approaches to the same problem, and both might end up being exactly what Boston needs. Think about the psychology of what Tatum is doing right now. Most athletes use injury time to mentally reset, to take a break from the pressure. Not Tatum. He's using this setback as fuel, as motivation, as proof that he belongs in the league in conversation with the most dedicated players. 6 days a week of rehab isn't just about getting healthy, it's about sending a message. And that message isn't lost on his teammates either. Jaylen Brown just watched his co-star get hurt and his supporting cast get traded away, but he's also watching Tatum refuse to quit. Derek White sees a franchise player who won't abandon ship when things get tough. These are the kind of moments that define team culture for years to come. Here's what makes this situation fascinating from a basketball perspective. Nobody knows what a recovered Tatum looks like. Achilles injuries are historically devastating, but modern medicine and recovery techniques have changed the game. We've seen players like Kevin Durant come back and still dominate at an elite level. We've also seen careers end with that injury. Tatum is betting on himself, but it's an educated bet. His work ethic was legendary before the injury, and now he's channeling all that intensity into getting back. The question isn't whether he'll return, it's when and what version of himself he'll bring back to Boston.
But here's where Tatum's personality comes into play. This is a player who's never been satisfied with just being good enough. He's always chased greatness, always pushed boundaries, always believed he belonged in conversations with the absolute best. That mindset doesn't just disappear because of an injury, it intensifies. The rebuilt Celtics roster presents its own challenges and opportunities. Anthony Simons brings scoring punch, but can he handle playoff pressure? Can this younger, cheaper core actually compete in the loaded Eastern Conference? And most importantly, if Tatum does come back, how quickly can they mesh as a unit? What's really compelling is how this injury might actually unlock a different dimension of Tatum's game. Players who come back from major injuries often develop a deeper understanding of basketball, a more cerebral approach. They can't rely purely on athleticism anymore, so they become students of the game in ways they never were before. Tatum already had elite basketball IQ, but imagine that combined with the wisdom that comes from nearly losing everything. Imagine the appreciation for every possession, every game, every moment on the court. That's the kind of perspective that separates good players from legendary ones. The media narrative around this situation has been predictably pessimistic. Most talking heads have already written off Boston's season, already started discussing Tatum's career in past tense. But they're missing the bigger picture. They're underestimating the power of a motivated superstar with something to prove. Boston fans know better. They've seen their teams overcome impossible odds before. They understand that sometimes the best stories come from the darkest moments. And right now, They're watching their franchise player refuse to accept that his story is over. The Eastern Conference playoff race is wide open this season, more competitive than it's been in years. That creates an opportunity for a team like Boston, even a rebuilt Boston, to make noise if everything breaks right. If Tatum can return at even 80% of his previous level, this roster has enough talent to be dangerous. But there's something deeper happening here than just basketball. Tatum's approach to this injury is defining his legacy in real time. He could have easily taken the safe route, shut it down for the year, focused on next season. Instead, he's choosing the harder path, the one that requires daily sacrifice, daily pain, daily commitment to an uncertain outcome. That choice tells you everything about who Jayson Tatum is as a competitor. It tells you why Boston drafted him, why they built around him, and why they believe he can lead them back to championship contention. Stars are defined not by their success, but by how they respond when everything falls apart. The next few months will reveal whether this gamble pays off, whether Tatum can defy medical history and return at an elite level, whether this rebuilt roster can compete with the conference's best teams, whether Boston's faith in their franchise player was justified or misguided. But regardless of the outcome, we're witnessing something special. We're watching a superstar refuse to accept limitations, refuse to surrender to circumstances, refuse to let injury define his career. In an era where players often prioritize preservation over competition, Tatum is choosing the opposite path. That choice, to fight, to grind, to believe in possibility when everyone else sees impossibility, might be exactly what transforms this potential disaster into Boston's greatest comeback story. Because sometimes the best chapters are written when everyone thinks the book is already over.